how to have happy, healthy family conversations. Stay tuned if you want to get some advice here. All right, so one, I think it's very important that all families, mom, dad, and children play their roles. As in, dad does the dad, he's the father, and you respect it. Mom is the mom, you respect that, and children are the children. And everybody does their thing. If mom is a stay-at-home mom, she's gonna, that's her role. That's what she does, and maybe she works part-time. Let's say, just an example. Most of the dads work full-time, and most moms don't. Let's say typical family, and the children have their roles. Following mom and dad. A lot of my stuff, that I talk about is basically coming from biblical or Christian standards. And then when you're playing your roles and doing your role, you do your roles and you focus on you. You focus on fixing yourself. You being the best you can. You being the best dad you can. And mom can be the best mom she can be. Don't worry about. This is where a lot of problems come in with families and with my past, with a lot of toxic parents. Is they're very worried about the other parent, not themselves. So they're looking at the other parent, what they're doing wrong, and they're worried about their role. They're not doing their thing. But in reality is you do your thing, and you worry about you. You be the best you can at your role, because that's all you can do. You can't, because you'll be sitting here all day worrying about the other person and degrading them while you're not really doing anything on your role. So then now dad, let's say, is doing the lawn, going to work, doing all this stuff, and then mom's not worried about anything. That one extra thing that he's not doing that day, but not worrying about. It's just an example. It's not this normal. Most of the time, that's how it usually occurs. That little problems start. And the important part, when you're playing your role, don't divide the family up as in the good parent, bad parent. I'm the better mom. You love me more. That sets up for a lot of failure. A lot of not good. Because then children are not. They're not, they know that the parent is not doing their thing, and they're not worried about their part. They're more worried about the other. Especially not dividing or playing against each other, as in, you don't want to go. Let's say you're divorced. You don't want to go see your dad. Now the dad role is gone. Because now mom thinks that she's mom and dad. You don't want to go, so now the roles are split up, and that's not going to be healthy. It's not going to pan out very well for children, especially when you're going against each other. It's just, it should be the mom and dad doing their roles as mom and dad, and then the children are on the other side, always. You never play the victim, because now you're in the middle and the children on the other. It's a mess. Don't do that. I'm going to give you 5 examples. So this number 2, I think, would be by teaching your children to praise each other. So whether you do this or not, a lot of times, people hear me, and I'm not perfect, and I've not done all of these things myself either. But I like to try to teach people to better themselves, or acknowledge what the first step is, acknowledging what the problem is. So that's why I'm doing this, to help families. And children mostly, not, yes, I'm trying to help parents, but a lot of times people, especially adults, don't want to change. So children will hear this, and this is for children also. So praising the other parent, meaning an example is as there's no I, like I am the better parent, I do everything. I know I've been in that situation before, but when you use I, you're teaching your children to be self-centered, and they're not going to extend they're not going to say good things about other people. And even if you don't even if you do that in front of other people, but at home behind closed doors, you're not doing that to the most. I mean, children's their most important people is the mom and dad. So if dad doesn't say anything good about mom and praise her and lift her up, or mom doesn't, say something like your dad's a good, he's a good father. I'm a good mother, yes, but your dad is also a good father. So always lifting each other up. You don't lift up one person, because that causes a lot of problems, for toxic and narcissistic, and narcissist, which is a whole different conversation. But that's usually tends to completely go in that direction, especially negative talking. So try to keep that out. I mean, I know it's not easy, and it's and nobody's perfect, but and remember this: children learn by example, not by. You can tell a child, like example, my dad smoked all his life up until maybe he was 50 some years old. So for him to tell me not to, it's not by example. It's just do as I do as I say, not as I do. It doesn't work very well. Trust me. So no negative talking. Children learn by example. So always lift each other up. So that's how children learn how to lift each other up and other people. Make them feel better about themselves. Because the only thing you're doing when you're not doing that is you're making yourself feel better. So now your children, they're codependent to you. And keep in mind, I'm not a therapist. I don't want to be a therapist. I'm not a counselor, nothing. This is just purely suggestions of helpful, life coaching, things that anybody can, I'm just doing this out of, the wisdom or the things I've learned in my life, what works. You know what works and what doesn't, believe me. Have specific times to talk about problems and always in front of each other, like not behind closed doors, meaning don't have meetings or talks about the other parent. And this is all Christian biblical stuff, which is common sense. It's nothing to do with that. Resolve problems in front of the other parent and move on. So in other words, if you have a problem, if you have a problem with dad, don't talk to your kids about it, behind dad's back, because it's not you're teaching children to lie and it's not a good thing. You resolve problems, and the children will learn how to resolve problems and conflict instead of running away. For an example of like with my ex, she's completely taught the children to ignore me and pretend, this delusional idea that they're being stalked, behind my back, and saying all these, I don't even know, but now they're alienated, so it's not going to work very well for my two kids at all. It is not going to work. They're not going to know how to handle love. They're not going to learn how to, and that's a purely example. They're not going to learn how to confront anybody, because now they're learning to make up stories. I went to her job, in hopes that she knows how to move on and just kind of, but they don't. You're 21, 22, and you still think that you're running from your dad, and making up stories and stalking and just toxic. So what's going to happen is, and the reason I'm using that example is, when you, I love people I'd like them to respond or contact me or such, like whatever. But what's going to happen is she's going to learn to ignore problems and not resolve them, not have healthy. It's not even possible to be able to have a normal, healthy relationship. Not even my 16-year-old at this point at all whatsoever. It is completely not normal, at all whatsoever. So I hope they'll open their eyes. So that's how that doesn't work well. So backstabbing, it's not. I can't imagine at my age or being a parent and teaching that to anybody or doing that to anybody and making out to be the bad guy, especially your parent. I mean, so that's definitely not playing your roles. Now you're not uplifting the other person. So when they grow up, they're not gonna have a clue how to resolve or do anything, have any normal conversations. And believe me, trust me, I know, because I've been raised in a very toxic family and yelling, fighting, screaming. It doesn't work at all. Especially, I would say this is one thing that a lot of kids do, and this is where my situation was. Don't tell your dad. When he comes home, don't tell him that we went here. Don't tell him that we went to this guy's house and blah, blah, blah. Don't tell him we spent all the money. Not a good idea. Talk about, you should talk about in front of everybody together and reserve problem. Have maybe have a specific time during the week to talk about these things. Maybe once a day. Maybe if it works, if you have to do it once a day and then move on, then that's what you do. I mean, your kids and your wife, your ex, they're the most important people in your life. So you don't want to do them wrong and teach your children that. I mean, that's not very good. Love is the answer to life, I think. 'Cause that's where everyone's lacking. It's either anger, mostly stem from your childhood. I would say, I think I said 5 things. 5 would always be, always make peace by the end of the day. Forgive and then kind of move on. And I got this from my pastor. Talking about quickly resolving things and moving on, because you got to forgive. Because if you don't forgive, you're not gonna. It's not gonna work very well, because then you don't know how to say sorry. You don't know how to apologize and move on, because no one's ever wrong, So then you forgive and move on to the end of the day. So there you go. So click on subscribe and share. Have a good day.